All right, we're back and we're ready to do our runner. So I'm just going to grab my bag that says this labeled runner, and I'm going to pull out my template stacks first. That's going to be your fabric H group temps and your C to F group of temps. So we're going to start with that. We won't need these pieces right away. So I'm just going to put those back in there. Okay, so we're just going to cut these apart. So I am going to just do that really quick. So again, we're just cutting on the black line. We're cutting out every shape that's on the template. All right, I've got my templates cut apart. We're going to continue now with piecing our section for the runner. So in your runner bag, you also have the temp 2 that we cut before. You're going to pull that out of your bag as well. So again, I'm just going to take my page 3 of my patterns. I'm following the exact same diagram that I did for my placemat. So I'm just going to set these up just like I had done for my placemats. So I'm going to find my temp 1 is going to go there. Temp 3 is the other corner. Then we have temp 6 goes right there, and 4 goes on that side. And then when you're taking these ones, just make sure you grab the rectangle because they all have the same numbers on them. But pay attention to the label in the margin. So this rectangle, for example, has temp 6, which means it's going to be sewn to your temp 6, so you know that that one's going to go there. So you're going to put that rectangle there. And your temp 5, so same thing with these guys, these little ones. You're going to want the one that says temp 4. It's going to be sewn to temp 4, so that's going to go there. Then we're going to grab 10 and 8. And then you'll grab the rectangle that has the temp 10 in the margin and the little one that has temp 8 in the margin is going to go there. Then we're going to do 14 and 12. And then you'll grab the rectangle that says temp 14 in the margin and the one that has temp 12 in the margin for the little one. Then we're going to go to 18 here. 16 is going to go on this side. And then your last rectangle should say temp 18. And your last little one should say temp 16. And then we have 20 and 21. Okay, so same deal. We're going to take our staples out of our our C to F fabrics, which is going to be your rectangles and your diamond, your temp 2. So we're just going to take the staples out of there. placemats, we shuffled these piles. For the runner, our pieced section, diamond section, they're all going to be the same. So if you look at my example on my design wall, you can see that all of these are exactly the same versus them being all different in the placemats. That means we can't shuffle for this scenario. What we're going to do is put all the same fabrics in a pile. So our attempt 2 is already all of your B fabric. So the next one here is we're going to make a pile of our C. So if we're just going to take these and just take them out of here for a moment. And again, if you're going to grab your little key. So so my B is right here. So my next fabric here is going to be C. So I'm just going to move these here as well. So I'm going to put my C fabric here, my D fabric here, my E fabric here, and my F fabric here. Then you'll take the next pile and you'll put your C fabric in the same pile. Your D's are going to go here. E's are going to go next. So you can see what's happening here. Each pile is going to be all one fabric. So you'll keep doing that with all of your piles here. So we're going to do C, D, E, and F. And you're going to do the last one. Like that. And then before we put our papers back, we're just going to move these papers to the side. We're going to do the exact same thing with the little rectangles. So we're just going to move the piles over and sort your fabrics out. So all of your C's are here, all of your D's are here, E's are here, and F's are here. So we're just going to do that with all of the piles. So we're just resorting our fabric. So in each pile will have only one fabric. All right, then we're going to take our papers and put them back on. So this one's going to be your template 5. So we're going to just circle the 5 on here. This one's going to be 9. This one's going to be 13. And this one's going to be 17. And this one's going to be 7. This one's going to be 11. This one's going to be 15. And this one's going to be 19. So now we're ready to sew our pieced section. And we're going to do the exact same thing that we did for our placemat. So you're just going to take the top fabric from each pile and sew one section at a time, or it's going to be a little bit easier in this case not to get mixed up. So you could just chain and sew all of your temp 1s to your temp 2s, press, come back and put all your 3s to your 1, 2s, etc. It's entirely up to you. It's whatever you're feeling comfortable sewing and not getting mixed up. So I'm not going to do that just right now. I'm going to go ahead and sew, but you will go and sew. If you need to refer back to the process of how we created this section, there's a pop-up coming up on the video here to give you a timestamp to go back to if you want to see me piecing that section together again. So I'm going to go sew my diamond section together, and then I'll be right back. Hi everyone, I'm back with my piece diamond section finished for my table runner. So you should have 4 of these diamond strips, and they should look the same. So they should be 4 identical strips. So now what we're going to do is start getting ready to make our runner. So we have this section done. So in your runner bag, you're going to pull out your 1.5-inch strips and your 2.5-inch strips. And then your A1 pieces, which we've cut, we're just going to put those with our pieced strips for right now. And the binding will just stay in the bag for the moment. So we're going to take our 1.5-inch strips and we're going to subcut these now. So you're going to leave these folded in half for the long strips, because we need to cut 2 1.5 by 40.5. So I'm just going to grab my 24.5-inch ruler, and I am going to cut. So you want the fold at this end over here. Oops, it's this way. So you don't want to cut your fold off. You got to make sure you're cutting off your the 2 raw edges here. So you're going to put 20.5. We need 40.5, so that means we need 20.25. So I'm putting my 20.25-inch line here on my fold, and then I'm just going to cut this part off. So this strip is going to become H2 part 2. So we need 2 of these. So you're going to do that with a second one. So again, fold over here. You're going to put your 20.25-inch line on the fold. And cut your 2 raw edges off over here. So that's the second one, and that's your H2 part 2. So that's what those 2 are. Then you'll take your last 1.5-inch strip, and we're just going to cut the selvages off. So you want your raw edges here to your left if you are right-handed, and we're just going to square this up. So we're just going to use that, and I'm just going to grab a little ruler here just to make sure I'm nice and square. Then I'm just going to do that, and we need to cut 2 1.5 by 8.5. So we got the 1.5, so 8.5 is what we need. So I'm putting my 8.5 on the edge of my fabric. And I'm going to cut. So that's going to give us 2 pieces at 1.5 by 8.5. And that's going to be your H2 part 1. So that's that. So we don't need these. So now we're going to take out our 2.5-inch strip, and we need 2.5 by 40.5. So again, we're going to leave this in half, and again we're going to put the fold this way, and we're going to measure 20.25, sorry. So that's going to become our H1 part 2. H1 part 2, that's what that one is. All right. So out of the remaining little strips here of your 1.5, you should have had a couple pieces left. We're going to cut your H3, so, and that is going to be 10.5. So I'm going to take my big ruler again. So 10.5, and we need 2 of those. So that's going to be your H3. So we're going to put those over here. And I'm going to put H3 on that. Okay, so the only thing we have left to cut is the H1 part 1, which is 2.5 by 8.5 inch piece, and that we're going to get out of the remaining fabric that we had left when we were cutting our H fabric. So you should have a piece like this left over, or you should have your 8.5 inch strip that you cut. So you can use whatever works here for size. The 8.5 definitely works for sure. So this is already 8.5 inch wide. So we're just going to cut a 2.5 inch strip off the end of this one. And I'm just making sure that everything's nice and square, and it is. And we'll just put that over here. So this one is going to be your H1 part 1. So that goes with this guy here. Okay, so now we're going to start doing the assembly. So the first thing we're going to do is put our H2s and our H1s together. So you're going to take your H2 part 1 and you're going to sew 1 to each end of your H2 part 2. So you're going to sew this one to this end. Then you'll take this piece and sew your other H2 part 1 to that end. Your H3s just stay like that, and then you'll do the same thing with your H1 part 1 and part 2. You're going to sew those together. So we're going to go ahead and sew those, and then I'll be right back. All right, so I'm back. I have my H2s, part 1 and 2 sewn together, so these two, and I have my H1s part 1 and 2 sewn together. So these are your middle sashing, and then your 2 outer borders. So now what we're going to do is take our A1s, which was these pieces. So you should have 4 of these, and 4 of your pieced diamond strip. So again, I'm just following my page 3 here, my diagram for the runner. So you can see, if I lay this like this, I've got my H2s, my H1 in the middle, and now I'm just going to lay out my other pieces. What you want to make sure here, you'll notice that our second fabric, our A2, should be at the top of your strip, and that's the one that's an actually full square. It's not pieced. So make sure that they're all the same way when you're putting them on here. Don't turn them like this. Keep them all with the square at the top. So this one's going to go here. Then you're going to add an A1 piece. Then you're going to add another piece section, and then another A1 at the end of that. And on the other side, you're going to do the opposite. So you're going to start with your A1, put a piece section, another A1, and then another piece section. So I'm going to go and sew these sections together, and once I have that together, I'm going to sew my middle sashing onto those 2 pieces, and then my borders, and then I'll be right back. Hi, I'm back with my runner with all of my rows sewn together. So at this point, this is what your runner should look like. We can pull off some of these labels now. So the only thing we have left to do now is to put our end pieces on. So that's for your H3 pieces, and you should have 2 of those. So you're going to take those 2 and you're going to put them at the end, right sides together, and sew those, and I'm going to do that right now. All right, so we're going to press these to our H3 pieces, which is the piece that we just finished adding on. And we have our table runner. So your table runner should look like that. And with your placemats, you now have a matching set of table runner and placemats. Thanks again for joining us for this class. And if you're interested in more of our classes, we have more on our Vimeo platform. We'll see you then.